Verse 26. One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Did they not see you in the garden with him?" Okay. So this is now clearly, okay, we see this is again the writer writing this now, he knows the relatives of. So he knows Malchus' relatives, right? And he therefore mentioned that this is, and that this guy was there in the garden as well. And he's stating, but just wait, didn't I say? I mean, this is a guy who cut off your relative's ear, right? Okay, now I know it's in the dark. I know it's pandemonium. I know that everything happened. It might not have been in his eyes. Could have. He was not sure. Okay, so he kind of just maybe again wanted to make sure that this maybe you know, maybe you're lying. You're saying you're not. But if you, I mean, what's going? Why can't you stand up for your Messiah kind of idea, right? Verse 27, Peter again denied it, and at once a rooster crowed. So again, Peter's like, no, I don't. In the Gospel of Mark, we see that, it's like I said, in the Gospel of Mark, he's very strict on himself because he's the one dictating to John Mark. And he said he swore even, okay, so he's like, that kind of gives it away. No, I have nothing to do with this guy. So, yeah, well, Jesus said this is going to happen. When push came to shove, he wasn't willing to die. He wasn't willing to suffer. He wasn't even willing to admit to it, because who said he's going to suffer? None of the other disciples suffered. They didn't crucify any of the other disciples, at that stage at least not. They were only after the leader, that's all they were. Because they kind of believed, kill the leader, the rest will scatter on their own. There's no need to kill them or anything like that, because they would just disappear into the thin air, into the night sky. Early morning kind of idea, like mist before the sun, just disappear. Yeah, so, well, like I say, he was not thinking rationally or anything like that. Yeah, sure, you're not going in, especially the kind of person Peter was. But the other thing I just quickly want to point out here, and then I want to stop recording on the ferry, because it's not that far to go and I need to rest a little bit, and we'll most likely then we're going to be a couple of days on the bus, and God willing, and then a couple of hours maybe, if we're lucky, be able to sleep before we need to catch the ferry for a couple of hours to get over to Melaka in Malaysia, and so hopefully there we can continue to record. But before that, just one, so the differences, the difference in the story here and in the other Gospels. So what's the reason? Does that prove the Bible is wrong? No, it does not prove. With all the emotional things happening, okay. Like say, for example, with Mary, on the one hand, it shows that she poured it on the head, other she washed the feet. With after the oil kind of, no, you understand, what oil comes here, it falls off, so both can be true at the same time. In others, like if the servant girl the third time was asking, for example, okay, and yes, remember, servant girl is a nobody in the society. Her word was not even accepted in the court of law, so he could have just told her, you're just a servant girl. But now in this case, so she could have been the one instigating. She could have been saying this as well, and then because she said this, a truth, another person standing with her as well heard it, and he agreed with it, and he as well said. So that is another truth. But so the one writer puts a focus on the girl here. That is, I think, Mark did. Because, like I said, in the Gospel of Mark, as Peter dictating it, he was very strict on himself, and he was putting himself in a very bad light there. He was not hiding anything. Okay, so he would put to show. Even the voice of a servant girl whose word would not be accepted in the court of law. He could not deny, even against someone like that, and he cursed even. But now in this case, this is more another person, a relative of, so it puts him in a different, this is a guy seemingly saying this, he was there as well in the garden, it would put him in a different level as well, one of them entrusted to go with. Okay, so his word would have been accepted in the court of law, so John is then bringing that part out more, except where. So both is true at the same time, just depending on where you're looking from. Okay. If for example, I point my finger like this, and if you stand that side of, that side, then you see my finger pointing up. Okay. But if you are hanging upside down from, okay, then you're going not to see my finger pointing up, but actually pointing down, right? So depending on your point of view, where you're standing, where you're looking from, okay? So both can be true at the same time. This is not doesn't make the story wrong at all. And yes, we will still look at other instances of this, but why John pointed this out is just to point that they can go and ask that relative. That relative was there, that relative spoke with Peter. You can ask him, right? He's a relative of Malchus. I mentioned Malchus' name. You can ask this relative as well. He said these things to Peter. They were standing around a coal fire, not just any fire, a coal fire. You can go and ask these things. It all points to a very early date, and they could have asked these people, all these people who still have been around at that stage. 40 years later, not. At that stage, yes.